At the party, my wife and her girlfriends played truth or dare. They were supposed to reveal their biggest secrets. My wife, Judy, casually said to the group, "Honestly, I never loved Jason. He was just a stand-in for my first love. I married him just to find a dad for the baby inside me." Everyone went silent at first. Then they erupted into loud, shocked screams. Someone reminded them, "All right, stop now. Isn't Jason coming to pick you up soon? It wouldn't be good if he heard." But Judy, nonchalant, said, "Even if he heard, I'd say it to his face. He's head over heels for me, and he's too afraid to say a word against me." Hearing all this made me feel like I was thrown into an icy abyss. She wasn't wrong. I loved her to the core and couldn't bear to see her upset about anything. I never expected to be just a placeholder in her heart. In an instant, I felt every ounce of strength drained from me. I found myself downstairs, sitting back in the car, unsure how I even got there. I loved her so much, and yet, I was just her substitute. As I reminisced about our past, I remembered meeting Judy at a party. Back then, I was just a part-time waiter, and she was the shining star of the event, sharply dressed and radiantly beautiful. Many pursued her, yet she seemed uninterested. At the party, she'd drunk quite a bit, and as it was winding down, I saw her being led away by a rich guy. At first, I thought it was her choice, but then I noticed her resisting. I rushed in to intervene and got beaten up for it, ending up with a nasty cut. At the hospital, the doctor told me it was lucky the cut wasn't deep, or it would have been tough to handle. After bandaging me up, I was ready to leave, but Judy insisted I stay for a few days for observation. In the days that followed, she visited me daily. Eventually, as we spent time together, she held me, crying. "It's been so long since anyone risked themselves for me like that. Do you like me? Would you want to be with me?" Judy was 3 years older than me. She was stunning, with a great personality. I had no reason not to love her. I nodded instinctively, and soon we were kissing passionately. I don't remember how we spent that night, but every time we made love, she'd mumble a name in her sleep, David. It made me bitterly smile. I realized I was just a stand-in for David all along. I pulled out my phone and called my boss. When he picked up, he said, "Jason, I hope you reconsider. This is a rare opportunity, and I have high hopes for you. That's why I pushed for it. I know you're attached to your girlfriend, but something about that struck a chord." Everyone knew I loved Judy deeply. She knew too, yet it seemed she merely saw it as something to boast about. "I've decided. I'll take it." There was surprise from the other end. "Well, that's great news. With international studies, you're sure to become a key player at our aerospace unit." I'd earned a master's and joined an aerospace facility, working under a mentor who also led our unit. Under his guidance, I quickly advanced, and he often boasted about me, saying I had a solid foundation and strong knowledge. He suggested I study abroad to enrich my understanding, anticipating it would take 2 years, given the future of aerospace in our country would need more globally informed leaders. Initially, I'd had reservations, but now I saw no reason not to go. After all, to her, I was just a stand-in. After hanging up, I stepped out for a smoke, when my phone buzzed again. It was Judy calling. I hesitated but answered. "Jason, the party's almost over. I'm tired. Are you here yet?" she asked. "Just got here. I'll come right up." I quickly composed myself and headed upstairs. Judy came out of the room, still flushed from the evening. "Judy, we're jealous you found such a catch from the aerospace sector. Tall, handsome, and smart," her girlfriends teased. Judy chuckled. "You all envy me for nothing. Come on, my sweet little brother." She smiled sweetly as she took my arm, and we headed out. There was a faint scent of her perfume. "Did you smoke earlier?" she asked, wrinkling her nose. "Yeah, sorry. Just some stress from work." I avoided smoking around her since I knew she disliked it. Speaking, I glanced at her abdomen, still not showing much. It seemed she hadn't been pregnant long. I wondered when it happened. Perhaps when she traveled abroad for work a few months ago. As a top magazine editor, she often traveled. Maybe that's when she conceived with David, perhaps. In the car, she had the window cracked, letting the wind tousle her hair alluringly. Her favorite music played softly. As the car drove on, I couldn't help asking, "Who's David?" She'd been singing along but turned to me. "Oh, just my ex-husband." Ah. She laughed freely, never much concerned with my feelings. Sensing my silence, she teasingly added, "Ah, jealous much?" I knew these were attempts to ease the tension. Nope. The car pulled up at our home. She walked in, kicking off her shoes everywhere, just like always. Then she'd wait for me to fetch her slippers. I was already prepared. She put them on and lounged lazily on the couch. She liked to watch TV before sleeping. Meanwhile, I was an early bird. No words were spoken that night. The next morning, she left early and told me she had an event that night and might not come back. What she didn't know was that I'd already seen David's message on her phone before she woke up. 7 p.m., the usual spot. I scrolled through their conversation history. Turns out David was back in town today. In their chats, Judy gently advised him, "Wear something warm when you return tomorrow. It's raining. I've set up your hotel room for a week. Just give your name at the front desk. Don't worry. I'll be in your favorite business suit with black stockings when we meet." With David, her tone was gentle and thoughtful. But with me, she seemed like a child who needed everything done for her, even having her slippers and underwear hand-washed by me. I never could have imagined that someone so reliant on me would be so tender and caring with someone else. Looking at those messages, I realized the difference between love and indifference. If she didn't love him, why would she go through the trouble of having David's child? As I watched Judy leave, I headed to work. Once I arrived, my mentor called me in. "Jason," he said warmly, "I've seen you grow. I'm so glad you took on this challenge. Our country's space program hasn't been easy. We need responsible folks like you to take over. We're getting old." His hair was white, having dedicated his life to China's space industry. A selfless spirit I admired greatly. "Sir, I'm ready. When do we leave?" "No rush. You've got a month to prepare. Make sure you talk things over with your wife. There's going to be some intense, shut-in training. You understand, right?" "Yes, I get it." After a brief chat, I went back to work. After clocking out, I met with a divorce attorney. We'd already discussed things over the phone, so this meeting was mostly about drafting the papers. "Jason, here's the draft of the divorce agreement. Take a look." "Sure." I read through it carefully, then left the office with the papers in hand. Once home, I began packing my things. My eye caught a calendar hanging on the wall, with today marked by a red circle. I started counting down in my head. I sighed deeply, staring at those marked numbers. Time to fix something to eat. Around 9:30 p.m., after handling some work issues, I got ready to wind down. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was Judy. I was curious. Wasn't she supposed to be with David? When I answered, it wasn't Judy's voice but her best friend. "Jason? Where are you?" "Judy's had an accident. You need to come to the hospital." She sounded frantic. Before I could respond, she added, "Hurry now." I agreed, flagging a cab on my way out. At the hospital, I saw her friend Lily, and David was there too. I glanced at him, keeping my composure. Suddenly, a doctor rushed over. "What are you standing here for?" "Blood tests now." "Who's Judy's family?" "I am." "Sign this. The patient's hemorrhaging, needs surgery." "What kind of husband lets his pregnant wife drink?" "Now she's lost the baby, and she's in critical condition." The doctor reprimanded me. I didn't argue, just signed the form. "You're such an irresponsible spouse. Your wife's in trouble, and another man brings her in." His words stung, making me chuckle coldly, sad for my circumstances. My laughter was self-directed, mocking my sorry excuse for a husband. Judy knew she was pregnant, yet chose to drink with David, ignoring the risks just to indulge him. Seeing her on the bed, still in her business outfit and stockings, left me silent. They wheeled her into surgery soon after. Lily turned to me. "Jason, she's pregnant, and you let her drink? What kind of husband are you?" David dodged my gaze. "Now that you're here, I've got things to attend to," he said, turning to leave. David, in his early 30s, looked sharp in a suit, handsome and exuding mature charm. I suddenly grabbed him and punched him. You bastard. How could you? Blood trickled from his lip as he moved to retaliate. But Lily intervened. Judy's going into surgery, and you two fight here? David smirked at me as he said, Jason, right? To Judy, you'll never measure up to me. He dropped those words and walked away. I watched his back, thinking he might not know the child Judy lost wasn't mine. It was his. The punch I threw earlier wasn't for Judy but for myself. The surgery went okay. When Judy came out of the operating room, she was barely hanging on. She looked pale, with tubes all over her body. She got a little better by the next day. As soon as she regained some consciousness, she called out, David. She clutched my hand and said, David, I'm glad you're here. Her words felt like 1,000 needles piercing my heart, leaving it in shreds. Even at this point, she still praised David. David didn't care about her health, and that's why she lost the child. After the anesthesia, she was already calling David's name. I figure this must be true love. Only true love can go this far. A nurse came in just then. Jason, here's the hospital bill. Sign it if everything looks fine. Yeah, I'll sign it and pay later, I replied. I sat by the bed, looking at Judy's disheveled state. She always appeared rational, educated, and fashionable to me. How did she fall to this point? Around noon, as Judy started to come around, I handed her the hospital bill for her to sign. I also slipped in our divorce agreement. After she signed, she suddenly burst into tears, saying, Jason, I'm sorry, I couldn't save our child. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but my heart remained untouched. She wasn't crying for our child. She was crying for hers and David's. And while the tears were real, they weren't for me. Hold me, Jason, she said, reaching out, but I didn't embrace her. After she finished crying, I left to pay the bill. Because of work, I hired a caregiver for Judy. A week later, I picked Judy up from the hospital. By then, I had already drawn 7 or 8 red circles on the calendar on my wall. When we got inside, Judy noticed everything was a bit messy. Usually, when Judy came home, I'd make sure everything was tidy, no matter how busy I was. My goal was to have a comfortable environment for her. Been busy? The room's not cleaned, Judy noticed. Yeah, work's been busy lately, I replied. She nodded and looked at me, waiting for slippers. I handed them to her and she walked in. Why the red circles on the calendar? She asked. The question almost threw me off. Work might need me to travel soon. I initially wanted to have a proper talk with Judy, but she seemed distracted, checking her phone constantly, not really listening. Then her phone rang, and she quickly hung up, smiling. Sure, I have time. No worries, I'll be there. I'm fine, just minor stuff. Her face lit up with a smile she couldn't hide. She seemed over the moon. After hanging up, she looked at me, finally remembering I was there. I've been in the hospital for a week. I need to catch up at work. All right, I nodded, not saying much else or asking further. Dragging her weak body, she began gathering her things. She dressed up nicely, but no makeup could hide the pallor. When she left, I didn't mind. Honestly, my feelings for her had gradually faded. I became clearer about my life goals. As days passed, I marked 29 red circles on the calendar. Just one day to go. Seeing the departure date nearing, I felt relieved. Close to the end of the workday, I got a text from Judy. Tonight's your birthday. I booked a restaurant and got you a gift. I'll send the address. Be there at 8. Sure, I replied after staring at the text for a few seconds. I didn't expect her to remember my birthday. Realizing it might be our last meal together, I agreed. After work, I packed up. My colleagues were surprised. Jason, the workaholic, leaving early? That's rare. Embarrassed, I chuckled, wrapped up my tasks. It felt right to head out early. After saying that, I checked the time and thought it was time to go. Judy picked a popular spot. It'll definitely be traffic heavy during rush hour. It might take an hour to commute. I prefer arriving early. I got there around 7 and sat in the restaurant, waiting. As it neared 8, and Judy hadn't appeared, I thought she might not show. Then she walked in, wearing a black dress, makeup flawless, looking stunning. Once seated, she said. Brother, I almost ran late, but luckily didn't miss your birthday. She spoke with such charm. Here's your gift, she said, pulling out a watch. Do you like it? I took it, glanced at it and said, yes, I like it. She hardly ever gives me gifts, so this time she must have done it on a whim. Maybe it's guilt from not having my child. If you like it, I'll help you put it on, she said as she leaned over to put the watch on me. But just as she was about to, her phone rang again. She looked at it but didn't answer. When it rang a second time, she picked up. Jason, sorry, there's an emergency at work. I have to go. Okay, you go take care of it, I said calmly. She got up to leave and gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, apologizing. I wiped her saliva off my face and watched her walk away with a bitter smile. Not long after, a server came over with a cake. Seeing I was alone, the atmosphere got awkward. Still, they called over some colleagues to sing me happy birthday. Thank you, I said. Back in the room around 10 p.m., I opened my social media absent-mindedly and saw a post from Judy's friend. It was a picture of Judy and David hugging, surrounded by people cheering, and them making out passionately. Judy's lip looked almost bruised from the kiss. The crowd around them chanted, "Together, together." Judy gazed at David with eyes she never had for me. I guess that's what love looks like. I probably was never loved by Judy. Thinking about it, I was always just a stand-in for David. I had no right to be loved. The two locked eyes and started making out again, hands all over each other. I suddenly felt if it weren't for the crowd, they might have gone further right there. Judy's friend captioned it, "Lovers always find their way to each other." She must have forgotten to block me from seeing it. But it hardly mattered. I closed my phone and walked to the calendar. I marked the last circle. My heart was finally at peace. Before leaving, I sent Judy a message. Judy, let's get a divorce. After sending it, I packed and headed to the airport by midnight. After checking in, I boarded the plane. Took off shortly, much like I knew my life was about to do. After a flight of over 10 hours, I landed. A girl around my age greeted me at the airport. She looked Asian. I was surprised. When I met her, I tried speaking English. But she replied in Chinese, "Jason, I know you. You're an expert in aerospace. I've heard of you." Her words caught me off guard. Not something I expected. "Hi, I'm Amy, your colleague. I came 2 months earlier from another aerospace unit back home. I'm here to welcome you." "Thank you. Appreciate it," I said politely. We chatted a bit. Amy handed me a SIM card for local use. I turned on my phone and saw no messages. Judy was probably still wrapped up with David. I switched out my SIM card and broke the old one. Amy then took me on a cab ride, explaining some basics of life abroad. She seemed gentle and kind, and patient too. That's the impression I got in our short meeting. After getting settled, Amy accompanied me to buy some essentials. We all gathered for a meal with others who were also there to study. Then it was back to learning. We studied at a research facility, led by a distinguished figure from back home. That's how we got this opportunity. Our days were fulfilling. In 6 months, time flew. I studied diligently and shared my ideas. A year later, I successfully published a paper that made waves in the aerospace community. Even made the news. At the celebration, Amy looked at me with stars in her eyes. "Jason, you're truly a remarkable young expert from home. Achieving this in just a year is unbelievable. It's inspiring." I just smiled and didn't say much in response. I treated everyone to dinner that night. The season had brought cold weather and falling snow. On our way back, I saw a figure under a street lamp. It was Judy. Her appearance surprised me. Her eyes reddened as she ran towards me, shouting, "Jason, I finally found you." She threw herself into my arms. Amy looked awkwardly at the scene. "Jason, is this?" I didn't explain and told Amy, "You should head back." She nodded, turned, and left without another word. I gently pushed Judy off. She looked at me, tears streaming. "Jason, you're such a jerk. Do you know how long I've been searching for you? You didn't need to find me. We have no ties now." "Who says we don't?" "I refuse to accept the divorce," she insisted. Her face still looked heartbreakingly beautiful. I stayed silent, unsure how to respond. Don't worry, Jason. I'll change and become the perfect wife for you. No thanks. Are you with David this time? I asked. She paused for a second, looking a bit awkward. She had a strange look on her face. David and I aren't anything. Don't get the wrong idea, she said. Seeing me staring at her, she seemed a bit guilty and continued. He was my first love, but we haven't been in touch much. We only talked for work. You know, I'm the chief editor of a top fashion magazine in the country. David has been in the industry for years and has resources that could help me progress. You don't have to explain. I get it, I said. Listening to her now, I felt nothing emotionally. Do you know how hard I've been trying to find you lately? Without you, my place is a mess. No one cooks for me or brings me slippers. No one massages me when I'm tired or takes care of me. Jason, I can't live without you, she said emotionally. Funny how he didn't care when I was around. Now she's traveled so far to say these fancy words. It just seems so absurdly laughable. You can just hire a maid for that, I said. Besides, I'm not your maid. I dropped those words, turned around, and left. Are you really that cruel? Her voice called from behind. I stayed silent, having no idea how to respond. In the end, I simply didn't. Sure enough, not long after I went inside, I saw a car pick her up through the window. The next day, Amy approached me curiously, asking who Judy was. My ex-wife, I answered. Oh, is she wanting to get back together? Yeah, she is. I answered truthfully. Oh? Amy looked slightly worried, but it disappeared quickly. Then she cautiously asked, Are you guys getting back together? I stared at Amy for a few seconds. Before long, her face turned red. Why are you staring at me? Is there something on my face? Amy asked awkwardly. Nothing on your face, but you definitely have something on your mind. Focus on your studies and don't worry about adult stuff. I'm an adult too, Amy said. After knowing each other for a year, I realized Amy was just in her early 20s. She skipped grades in school. A young prodigy type. Finished her master's before her mid-20s. She's got a knack for aerospace, so she was sent abroad for training seamlessly. I'm not a kid. I'm an adult too, Jason. Can't you treat me like an adult? Sure, I can, I said. Amy's face brightened with joy. Really? Yeah, once you grow up, I'll treat you like an adult, I said with a light smile. Amy got mad, waving her fists at me, looking adorably angry. Over the next few days, Judy tried to meet me whenever she could, but I turned her down, saying I was busy. During that time, Amy seemed a bit distracted from her studies. I asked Amy if something was bothering her recently. Amy denied it. You definitely have something going on. Tell me, maybe I can help. I looked at Amy. She had a cute look, big eyes. She looked up at me. After a while, she started talking about all sorts of nonsense. She went on for about half an hour, never really getting to the point. I wasn't in a rush, just chatting about academic stuff with her, mentioning nothing else. Finally, Amy seemed like she couldn't hold it anymore and said, Jason, are you and your ex-wife getting back together? Why are you asking? I said. Just curious, Amy replied. I paused a bit and said no. Hearing that, the worry on Amy's face quickly faded. Really? That's great, Amy said happily. Why are you so happy that I'm not getting back with her? I asked. That made Amy feel a bit guilty again. I'm not happy. I'm happy for you. Jason, you're such a good person. If that woman divorced you back then, it was definitely her loss. Plus, that woman looked dodgy. If you reunite, you'll just get hurt again. So I'm glad for you. You know? Amy said, her eyes darting around. Her words made my expression slightly change. Oh, I see. I thought there was another reason. What other reason could there be? Just this one. Amy said. I see it differently. Jason, Amy's got ulterior motives for you. A colleague suddenly chimed in. Amy blushed instantly, jumping up with her hands ready to attack. The guy backed off, saying, no need to get violent. Let's talk, negotiate. Let's pretend I never said that. Time passed with such banter. Finally, it was the day Judy was flying home. On the day, she asked me to dinner, saying it'd be a farewell meal for us. asking if I was willing. After some thought, I agreed. I was supposed to dine with some colleagues tonight, so I had to inform them I'd be having dinner with Judy. After letting them know, I left. Amy told me, go have dinner, but come back early. Sure, I replied. Before long, I met up with Judy. Looking at me, Judy said, Jason, we're strangers. I hope this is our last meeting, I said. Judy's expression slightly changed at that, but she didn't say more. Okay. During the meal, she started to cry again. I didn't say a word. I waited until the meal was over. Judy got up to leave and said to me, I won't forget you. I just looked out the window, pretending I hadn't heard anything. That was our last meal together before she returned to her home country. I went ahead and blocked all her contacts again. On my way back, it was already pretty late. When I got to my doorstep, I saw a figure standing under the streetlight. I walked towards it, feeling a bit on guard. After all, at night, the safety around here isn't that great. But when I got closer, I was surprised to see who it was. It was Amy. Seeing Amy standing there caught me off guard. I didn't expect her to be here. The weather was cold outside, and she was shivering by herself. What are you doing here? Couldn't help but ask. Amy looked up at me, her face red from the cold. I was waiting for you to come home. Her voice sounded a bit childlike. Waiting for me? Why? Just to see you come back, she said, sounding uncertain. I kept watching her, and she seemed to waver under my gaze. Her eyes got a little watery. I was afraid you wouldn't come home, she confessed. Where would I go if not home? I asked, slightly annoyed. I was afraid you'd run off with some other woman, she said. Suddenly, tears started streaming down her face. It's dangerous out here at night. You know that, right? If you want to wait, you could wait inside, I told her. But if I waited inside, I wouldn't see you come back, she replied. Let's go inside, I said, inviting her in. But she didn't want to budge. What's wrong? I asked. Amy suddenly looked serious and said, Jason, there's something important I need to tell you. What? I want to be with you, she said, clenching her fists like she'd made a huge decision. We'll talk about this later. No way, you have to say something now, she insisted, looking determined. Facing her, I felt her seriousness, too. Truth is, I had a soft spot for Amy. I thought back to all the little moments we'd shared. Is it because you're older and divorced? She asked, almost reading my mind. I nodded, yeah, it is. I don't care, she said as she grabbed my hand. If you don't say no, I'll take it as a yes. Okay, I finally said after a moment. And just like that, Amy and I got together. After graduating, we returned home and went to a secret base together, spending 3 years on a secret project. 3 years later, we finally got married. After that, I heard Judy was blackmailed by David for money. He threatened to expose some compromising photos of them if she didn't pay. Judy couldn't handle it after a few times and eventually reported him to the police. David got arrested, and Judy lost her job over it. I didn't hear about her again, but those things don't concern me much anymore. All that matters is living a happy life with Amy.